welcome to the URBONUS podcast. I'm the host, Donatas URBONUS. I'm joined by Augustas Šiliauskas. And this time, Rytis is not here. He hasn't returned from his birthday tour. He celebrated his 33 years old, right? He looks older, right?
Don't ask me.
Okay. But anyway, he just returned from this birthday tour with 50 Cent, actually. And he for sure will show up in the next episode. But what do you think? What would be the best birthday gift to Rytis, knowing his personality?
That's easy.
Okay.
I mean, a jersey of some kind of team or an old, I don't know, old hoodie of an NBA team, you know? I mean, he would love it for sure.
I didn't think about the, something you can actually touch. I thought about the experience, like locking or just having the privilege to be locked in your room, in your home, just to watch football, basketball for the entire week without anybody disturbing you. You don't have to go out. You have beer all the time in your fridge, refreshed, and some snacks, and just watching, lying on the sofa, waking up at 2 o'clock in afternoon and whatever. That sounds like a best week for Rytis Vyšniauskas.
For sure, or some tickets, to a football game.
Or another 50 Cent concert.
Did he go?
Yeah, of course, in Riga.
Oh, okay.
But actually, I don't have a birthday present yet. But thank God we have our friends to help us with that. So SK Store, one of the biggest basketball stores in Europe, offers you to browse through some of the finest basketball equipment from the best brands on the market, such as Nike, Jordan Brand, Adidas, Puma, and others. So check it out at skstore.eu. And let's check the gifts that we actually received from our friends, SK Store.
They actually sent us a lot of nice stuff, and Donatas show us what you got in the first pack. This way you can see what kind of items they have in their store.
I like it already.
This one looks nice already. The color.
I like the color. And it's Memphis Grizzlies color. I actually have too much of Grizzlies stuff.
Ja Morant.
Okay. That's controversial. That's a controversial pick. But I like it.
First one. Is Grizzlies your favorite team?
I wouldn't say so. That's nice. That's my size. Wow, that's a cool stuff. What do you have?
I have I was also looking for some Blazers gear immediately when I found out they're going to be the partners of this podcast. So since Blazers are my number one NBA team, I was looking for that, but this is
some retro stuff, right?
National Basketball Association
31.
Yeah, with I think all the teams.
Okay.
Team 31.
That's nice. That's some retro stuff. Since I'm not a big fan of any of NBA teams, to be honest, so I actually prefer that kind of merch, You don't associate yourself with any of the teams. And what's that all about? It's another Memphis stuff, man. Carter?
Did you tell them you are a Memphis fan or what?
Did somebody tell them some bad information or what? What's that?
Well, I like the color. That's Vince, some kind of alternate jersey.
Yeah, it's Vince Carter from 2015-16 season Hardwood Classic. So that's some real retro stuff that we got, and then you can actually find also on skstore.eu.
They have a lot of jerseys, guys, in their store, and you can see one of the examples. I mean,
I actually haven't seen anything like that. I didn't know that Memphis had stuff like this. And Vince Carter, we just had his poster somewhere in this studio, to be honest, jumping on Frederick White. Ooh, former Pirene player on your side.
Take a look.
One with the balls.
Yeah. Would you rather have Pirene jersey of LaMelo Ball or this one, Charlotte? Looks real fresh. Really good.
Ooh.
Guys, Donatas doesn't play basketball, but if you do, you can check the SK store.
Wow.
Why are you so happy?
I know they just look so nice. I'm not a big sneakers guy, but I love the design. Yeah, I will start playing basketball just because of these sneakers, to be honest.
Guys, listen. This is Donatas publicly admitting that he will play basketball in the next workation.
You also got some stuff
I got some stuff.
that might extend your basketball career, right?
I might use
Because
them
Augustus
actually
is
tonight.
officially retired from pro basketball. He's playing in some amateur leagues
So
just to get some playing time. You know?
I will definitely.
Okay.
Wow, no, but
That's even better.
that was not nice by you.
really?
You said.
That's some trash stuff. Wow. What's that all about?
These, and also there's another box. Oh, these are for walking.
Whoa.
These are super nice. Look,
I have
with a
Nikes as
yellow
well.
with a yellow Nike sign.
What about that? We're gonna be like brothers right now,
No way.
right? Wow, that's perfect. Thank you, SK Store. You're the best.
That are a lot of gifts. Thanks a lot. I'm definitely going to wear the shoes for some games. These ones to the podcast probably. And man, this LaMelo jersey, just look how smooth it is. Just take a look.
I like colors.
It's like really, really high quality product in my eyes.
It's like NBA stuff, so it cannot be low quality product.
Yeah.
Nice. So you can find all that stuff and even more for basketball activities or for just for your free time on skstore.eu. Again, one of the biggest basketball stores in Europe. And the best thing I heard about them, which to me shows a lot about the culture, about the approach and mentality, that they have their physical store. And out there, you can not just buy stuff, but you can also play NBA 2K. You can just talk about basketball with the people working over here. You can do a lot of different stuff. And it's like, a place to spend time for basketball lovers. So to me, it speaks a lot about the culture.
It's not only a shop, it's also an experience.
It has some wisdom, a shop with the wisdom. So skstore.eu. Visit the website and you will find some great deals. And I heard that our colleague Julius was surprised how fast they actually deliver all these goodies in like 5 days or something. So that's pretty quick. Whew. Are you as excited as you were entering Žalgiris Arena for the first home game?
I am.
Yeah,
I am. I mean, there's so much stuff going on. Every team is interesting, maybe except with one that we might talk about later.
Okay.
But just so many new things. And I'm so interested to see how every team look, and just talk basketball here. So
that's it. That's your impression about Žalgiris Red Star experience. You had the live studio. You were like Augustus was driving. I was driving the car home after the game, and Augustus for half of the trip, which is like 1 hour and a little bit more. He was talking like, "Oh my God, these were like a courtside seats, and I got these seats for free. I was just enjoying basketball. Nobody was in front of me." And you repeated this like for 4 times, and now you kind of pretend that nothing had happened.
Yeah, I'm not going to say no. I was just I thought that your question was how do you feel about the EuroLeague in general? If you're asking me about the Žalgiris game,
I mean, we already had round 1 games, so we kind of had this official start of the season. But it's different when you hit the gym.
I wasn't in the podcast after the first week, so I didn't have a chance to really express how I felt, how excited I am about this start of the EuroLeague. And in Kaunas, I was super excited to see the action, and this Zvezda team is super interesting. And I heard, what Errick said last week in the podcast. He was really excited about, Zvezda being a lock, which I don't really, for playoffs, which I don't agree to some extent, because they have huge upside. They have so many new players, so they still need time to fulfill their potential. But I think I saw also their game against ASVEL in the first game, and I just thought that, it's more of a, you can get the idea of how ASVEL is not a EuroLeague team at the moment, and not of how good Zvezda is, actually. And it told more about the French team than the Serbian team. And, in game 2, we saw some of those problems, but, Zvezda played really well, I thought, for like 3 quarters. And just in the 4th quarter, I thought Žalgiris adjusted their game plan super, super interestingly. And, they were not afraid. Žalgiris coaching staff wasn't afraid of changing their emphasis in offense. And when Shabazz did that offensive foul, and Duško Ivanović put Miloš Teodosić and Nemanja Nedović together on the court without Adam Hanga, that's where Žalgiris started their run. They started picking Teodosić most of the time in offense, and they were successful. And it was the Žalgiris small ball with Brady Manick, the new guy, and Roland Schmitz that worked to perfection. So I was, it was like a game to see. Last year, I was seeing those games from TV, those Žalgiris comebacks in their arena, and now I got to witness it, from super good seats, and then I got to talk about it. So I was really excited about that, and just the atmosphere in Žalgiris Arena during those comebacks, during those crazy runs is something crazy.
It's hard to script a better home game experience when to have this, almost double-digit deficit and this great comeback that Žalgiris experienced in the 4th quarter. And the atmosphere was like crazy. It was electric. And you mentioned this thing about Errick and Zvezda and his prediction that Zvezda, and his take that Zvezda is a top 8 lock. To be honest, I'm also not on his side, because in this year, like watching these teams, watching some teams having potential challenges, I think, except from Real Madrid, I don't see any real top 8 locks anymore, because all other teams, they're facing a lot of different challenges, and it might be very confusing and interesting season. And except from Real Madrid, I don't see anybody for sure making even to the playoffs. And I'm not even talking about it making to the playoffs without the play-in. But then another positive thing for Red Star, Shabazz Napier was off. And huge credit goes to Tomas Dimša, the way he stopped him, contained him in the beginning of the game. And probably I repeated the story for like 5 times already, but this is the same guy who was questioned in Treviso if he should continue in Benetton Treviso 2 years ago, last summer, actually. And now he's taking one of the best scorers out of the game. At least he forced him to a slow start that I think a little bit impacted the way he tried to come back to the game. But from Zvezda's side, to be up by 9 in the 4th quarter with your best scorer, with one of the best scorers in the EuroLeague, having a terrible shooting night, he was 1 of 10. It's also some kind of positive, and it just speaks again about the miracles that Žalgiris continues to do. I mean, they were down by 15 at the end of the 3rd against Virtus. Now they are down by 9 against Red Star, who kind of felt were in control of the game. And if we remember all last season, it's like, deja vu feeling, really. A lot of games, a lot of crazy comebacks, and I just call them like champions of comebacks in the EuroLeague, because if I didn't dig in for the stats, but I believe that they managed to get out of the largest leads that the opponents had. So kudos to Žalgiris. You have to kill them before the 4th quarter, because if not, Arnas Butkevičius suddenly starts doing crazy things. Keenan Evans will make every shot he takes, and some crazy things will happen, especially if you're playing in Kaunas.
Edgaras Ulanovas will start hitting those crazy fadeaway
spin moves, fadeaway shots.
And you mentioned Tomas Dimša and his defense, but I will also, you have to mention Kevaris Hayes. I think in this podcast, he helped Dimša with, he allowed Dimša to be aggressive on Napier. So when he drives inside, Kevaris Hayes was always there to protect the rim. Zvezda thought they had a couple of layups. He comes out of nowhere. He blocks those shots, or he just changes the arc of some of these shots. So I think he was huge as well. So, you mentioned Zvezda was up 9, but I would also say that they are not going to get 20 offensive rebounds on every EuroLeague game. That's a huge That was a huge problem for Žalgiris, and they have to improve it.
But
their length is impressive. I agree, and Errick mentioned that as well in the last podcast.
That's how Duško teams play. They're super aggressive, crashing the boards.
They're super aggressive, but Žalgiris were not boxing out. There were many instances where the shot they're shooting, Zvezda are shooting a 3-pointer, and Keenan Evans and Edgaras Ulanovas are going towards the rim, which is already weird because it's a 3-pointer shot, so it's probably going to be a long rebound. And they're not boxing out.
But still, I watched plenty of round 1 and round 2 games. Žalgiris is for sure not the worst team boxing out.
I agree. I noticed. I was watching some of the other games. Catching up. I
was impressed by some teams showing the level of boxing out.
I know who you are going to mention, but I was catching up to those games, and I was like, are we not boxing out anymore? What is happening? Because every team that crashed the offensive glass got so many of them and actually won games.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why is it not emphasized anymore? Because not like you can't say it is not emphasized because some teams still do it, but there were just so many examples, and maybe it's the start of the season, so everybody's talking about the let's say offense, pick and roll defense, and they kind of forget the defensive rebounding. I'm not sure, but it was a huge point of emphasis in the first 2 rounds.
Well, that's why you have 4-hour video sessions, to catch up with these things.
Probably to one of the reasons.
Make some adjustments.
Does 4-hour video session sound fun to you?
It depends. If it's
How do you
the
see
video
it
session of The Office TV series, I love it.
Oh.
But if it's the video session of, knowing Errick Ataman and his style in the previous teams, I'm confident saying that he probably just tuned 2 games in a row, like Panathinaikos Olympiakos, and then Panathinaikos, they played Peristeri, I think, or it was Maruzi game. I don't remember which one, but it was a tough win. Probably it was Maruzi. And and knowing Ataman's style, and I did let's say this is my also well-educated guess based on the research I did. There's very high chance that they just watched both full games, just fast forwarding timeouts and commercials, but watching all the plays. And I've asked some people, how these long videos. It's not the first time Ataman puts, long video session. So I asked some guys how these look like from the inside. So usually Ataman is not very vocal during those video sessions, but instead he prefers to rewind those mistakes all over and all over again. From you can see the same replay twice. You can see the same play repeated for 5 or 6 times. It's up to you, to understand quicker the mistake you did and just make everybody sure that you're not going to repeat it again. Sometimes he's not saying basically anything during those video sessions. It's not like he's just stopping plays and explaining what's wrong, what's bad. In a lot of cases, it's for you to understand your mistake.
So you are telling me this was a 4-hour film session in more or less silence?
No, I'm not saying it's his style. I'm not.
It's his style.
I wasn't there. I wasn't in that video session,
sure.
So maybe it was different. It's a new team. Ataman is not coaching in Turkey anymore, so maybe he did some different games. And in a lot of cases, sometimes his assistants step up, to be more vocal. But Ataman's style is just to be more silent, just to watch, just to relax, just to play some clips on the replay, and that's why it usually takes so long.
I mean, usually, the film sessions are like 10, 20 minutes in professional teams. Before games, you watch one day 10 minutes of the opposing team offense, defense. Then the next day you watch 10, 15 minutes of players' tendencies and what they like to do. Then maybe there is something more. It depends on the team. And after the game, it's usually a similar situation. It's usually, obviously it depends a lot on the coaches, but let's say the majority of the teams, it's like 15, 20. The teams are trying not to load players with a lot of information. The assistants are trying to pick out the main things, let's say what were bad, and to help, be better, at these things. So 4-hour film session is more of a message to the players that if you don't understand what I'm saying in words, you are going to have to suffer these 4 hours because, I don't know another way of how to explain you these things. And if you see them all and over and over and over again, then maybe you finally understand, because clearly, the words weren't enough in the first couple of weeks. So it's like saying, please don't do the same mistakes again, because we can do these 4-hour sessions, video every week.
It was just this lengthy and boring message that he sent, but it worked.
Absolutely.
I mean, they beat Bayern Munich by 7 at home, and probably that's what sometimes you need, especially in the beginning of the season, to set the tone and to set the bar for your players. So Panathinaikos bounced back with their first EuroLeague win, and we had some interesting results, and we will focus on 4 teams, 2 losers and 2 winners of the early start of the season. And it's a little bit strange, especially when we were so high about them in our power rankings for the season. It's a little bit strange to see Monaco and Efes without a single win so far. Although both teams had a different schedule. Efes played Barca and
Real Madrid,
while Monaco had Virtus and Valencia. But they didn't manage to win any game. What's wrong with Efes Monaco? Should they press panic button already? Is it something? Is it nothing?
That's your favorite question. Is it something? Is it nothing? Is it everything? Probably start with Efes, right?
Okay.
I wouldn't just push the panic button as of yet, but they have to do a better job defensively. I mean, was this the team you wanted to mention in the defensive rebounding?
One of them.
One of them. Because, clearly Žalgiris did not get the memo from the coaching staff that you have to box out, but Efes clearly did not do the same thing. And it's like, but it wasn't even the main reason they lost. First of all, Real Madrid is a team above everyone else, 1 or 2 levels at this moment. They look like in the playoff shape already. They're just having fun. They started the game incredibly well, and in every position, they might have a better player against every team in a lineup, like most of the teams. And if there is a video session before playing Real Madrid, what's the first thing you think that coaches are mentioning? What we have to stop?
What we have to stop?
Yeah, one thing in Madrid's offense.
Facundo Campasso?
I'm not a player, but like, what offensive thing they're doing so well that the coaches are emphasizing?
You're a video breakdown guy. It's your job.
Transition offense.
Oh, okay.
They're running.
Kind of obvious,
they're running like crazy, and now with Campazzo pushing the pace, it was the number 1 problem for Efes. And if you want to win against Real Madrid with Campazzo now, you have to be super good in transition defense. And Efes were not. Efes were, first of all, creating good shots, but they were missing, and that allows a quick shot for Real Madrid. Nobody's really stopping the ball. Nobody's making those smart fouls in transition defense. And Real were just, both those runs that they made, like let's say 26 and 9 in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And then a bit later, a lot of shots were in transition after turnovers and after Efes missed shots. So if they would have fixed it, let's say during the game, this could have been a close game, but they were just not good enough at this department. So there were more problems, but this one was the main one, plus the defensive rebounding.
Yeah, 91 points allowed in Barcelona game, then 103 points against Real Madrid. Worst defensive rating so far. They allow 70% from 2. A lot of breakdowns everywhere. Perimeter, transition defense. No, they don't use team fouls. A lot of breakdowns in communication in some easy situations. I think that they have problems on the help side, especially starting from power forwards. And I think that that's where they need another guy. That's why they're looking for a power forward. And my idea was like, somebody that could stretch the floor, but it should be like a Roland Schmitz type of guy who could stretch the floor to some extent, but who would be more experienced, who would be more physical, and who could read some situations better, and who would add size. Because in the defensive situations, that also includes big men, they have a lot of problems. But yeah, it feels like that they have these bad habits from previous years, because despite those big changes, like marquee players and coaches leaving the team, they kept the core. But it feels like that they have the same bad habits from the past seasons in terms of the defensive effort, boxing out, even defensive communication, which is it's really hard to understand when you play together for so many years. And they're just not tough enough. And but Erdem Can is a different type of coach, and I believe that with some time he will, demand his players to be different defensively. But so far, let's say they have to build this defensive mentality from scratch completely.
I wouldn't push the panic button as of yet because
first of all, nobody should
2 games.
Push the panic button after 2 games in EuroLeague, except if you're in Villeurbanne.
Yeah. Agree. But it's just that, those habits you mentioned, it's true, but they're a new team, so they kind of have to understand those, especially the new guys. But I would say that the old guys also have to do a better job. Let's say, Erkan Yilmaz played 22 minutes. He missed all 5 shots from the field, but with him on the court, with his intensity, Efes looked a better team. And they actually were in 22 minutes plus 5 in a game they lost by 20. And Will Clyburn was minus 30 in 17 minutes played. And did you see the way Erdem Can was not happy with him in the third quarter when he subbed him out after one defensive breakdown?
I remember when he subbed out Shane Larkin for basically the same reasons.
So this is what I'm saying, that this is a new team. They have to figure things out. They have to, be better defensively. But it's not only the new guys that have to adjust. I think more energy and more intensity from the old guys also can be better. And if you're playing against Madrid, you have to. Everybody has to be playing at 100% if you want to win. They're just that good at this moment of the season. So it was a tough game for Efes, but I believe they're going to bounce back, and they're probably, I still think they're a playoff team for sure this season.
Yeah. And it's good you mentioned that Erkan Yilmaz. He's one of my new most favorite rookies that EuroLeague introduced in the beginning rounds of the regular season. 3 steals in the first quarter, and he was probably the biggest reasons of this huge comeback when they were down by 17 already in the first quarter. So yeah, they should follow more of what Erkan Yilmaz does during the games in the warm-up or whatever. The mentality, they have to transmit this mentality to some other players.
Efes don't have really a huge rim protection guy at the moment, in the pick and roll, and that's what's hurting them. So you can compensate for this with your energy, and that's why his energy brought so much good for Efes in this game.
What's wrong with Monaco so far?
What's wrong with Monaco? I would say Jordan Lloyd not playing.
I didn't expect I will miss Jordan Lloyd so much. And, it's funny. Because in the offseason, we were talking like, how they're going to share the ball. They're so loaded. There's so much traffic in their backcourt. But I remember that I mentioned that Jordan Lloyd was in and out during the last season already. With Kemba Walker, you're not even sure if he's going to play at all. So now you have this situation where you start the season with Elio Kobo and Mike James, and you really understand the impact that Jordan Lloyd had offensively, first of all, orchestrating the offense when, for instance, Mike James was not playing, or he was playing off ball. So yeah, we do miss Jordan Lloyd a lot.
I thought the conversation about Monaco not having enough basketballs stopped way in last season, but Jordan Lloyd is missing. He is the second best player, second most important player, I think, on that team. And in this game against Virtus that I saw, they had the same problem. They just can't make 3-pointers, open 3-pointers, good looks that they create. They were 4 of 22 from the 3-point range. They are only 32% in all last 5 games that they have played in EuroLeague and in the French league. And it's that same problem, Mike is creating opportunities for others, but the guys are just not making those shots. And they score 59 against Virtus. which I believe will cause a lot of trouble for a lot of teams this season with the new coach Luka Banki, but probably we'll talk about it later. But it's those guys that missed shots last year in the playoffs. They were shooting well and to start the season in the French league, but EuroLeague started and we have the same situation again. So I think they're fine, they're okay, but they have to integrate the new guys already. Like Terry Tarpey wasn't even looking at the basket for a couple of times when he got the ball open. So, it's the same story, but I think with the full roster, they should be fine. And I think, they can't be at this percentage for a long time.
Yeah, so Monaco was never a defensive team. And to start the season averaging 62 points per game means straight L for Monaco. And as you mentioned, I mean, the shooting boost that they have, they brought me back to probably the start of the Maccabi series where only Mike James can basically score. And that's why I liked Luka Banki's, order to make Daniel Hackett, Mike James, to force to kick the ball out. Nobody was making shots. Nobody could create for themselves or for others in the beginning of the game, and they started to build the lead from that. And later you can add it with some defensive. I mean, as I said, they have defensive issues, that's for sure. And when you have your best defensive player, John Brown, getting into the foul trouble with 90 seconds into the game, that's huge for your team. And I was rewatching this game, and after 3 quarters, Monaco was 4 from 14 from 3, and Virtus were 15 from 26. So we're talking about the 33-point difference in threes alone. And it's not like only, bad shooting covers the problems that Monaco have. But again, it's not all about Monaco. It's about their opponents, the way Valencia out-hustled them or hustled their path to the victory. And here, having Virtus playing amazing game. From the defensive plan to some individual players like Aoife Lundberg, Jalen Smith, they were making tough shots. While Monaco were missing good looks, some open looks, not monetizing good situations. Jalen Smith, Aoife Lundberg, even Toko Shingelia, Marco Bellinelli, they were making crazy shots. And when you think about Virtus, they should have won that first game against Žalgiris, right? They were they were up by 15, and they were in control of the game. Now they were in complete control of another game, and we're talking about the 2 top 8 teams and Monaco, a Final Four in particular. So that's a very impressive start for Virtus season.
I think when you look at the plain box score, you would agree, and everyone would agree that maintaining 16 of 31, I think 3-point shooting is not. It's not sustainable. They're not going to be hitting threes at this rate. If Lundberg made 2 3-pointers at the last seconds of the shot clock, but we have to shout out Virtus. I think, we ranked them pretty low in our power rankings, but so far Luka Banki has done an amazing job to this team, and you could see the same principles that he applied to the Latvian national team. Play aggressive, play simple, and play smart and have fun. And these 3 and that last thing, have fun, is how the Virtus are actually playing at the moment. They're playing aggressive defense, and then they're trying to go run in transition, and they're not playing a lot off of sets, but they're playing a lot out of this, get the ball inside, go get a handoff, play some off-ball action. This is not setup plays. This is just Virtus players playing off of feel for the game. And that has been really effective to start the season, because teams maybe are not that ready to guard actions that are not programmed, to the set plays that the other team has. So Shingelia can express himself one-on-one. He has the ball so much. You are allowed to shoot early shots. There is this freedom in Virtus team at the moment that you can feel right now. And Isaiah Cordinier, look at the start of the season for him. So I think they're going to be trouble for a lot of good teams this season. especially in the first part of right now of the season, and just don't sleep on them, I guess.
Yeah, that's actually the message I received before the season from one smart guy who knows and follows Virtus very well. Actually, something like don't sleep on them because they're good. And he said this is a hungry group with a great mentality and wish to suffer all together on defense. And that's what we see early into the season. And it's good you mentioned Banki because I think it was a post-game interview where Luka Banki was asked something about by the EuroLeague TV reporter that, oh, so we're 2 games into the season. How are you happy as a head coach about the process you're having, the way your team is transmitting and becoming a team? And his response was like, do you know when I arrived to this team? Do you? And he kind of he threw another comment and he just left. It was not an angry response, but it was a great reminder that the guy arrived like a month ago. So to inspire the team that way, that's impressive, and that's a nice start for Virtus. One last fact about Virtus: they actually keep surprising us with one of the oldest starting lineups that we ever had in the EuroLeague history. So for the second straight game, Luka Banki put up the 6th oldest starting 5 all time with Marco Bellinelli, 37, Brian Dunstan, 37, Daniel Hackett, 35, Tornike Shengelia, 32, and this young guy, Isaiah Cordinier, at 26.
26.
So it's 33.9 age average. And the oldest team that we had was 35-2. In the last game of the last EuroLeague season, ASVEL Villeurbanne, Charles Cahoudi, 36, Nando De Colo, 35, Alex Tyus, 35, David Lighty, 34, and D-Boss, 33.
Wow.
Yeah. There's place for old men in EuroLeague. It's good we start with Virtus because let's talk about positive things. And on the other side of the losers, we have winners in Barcelona and Valencia. It's actually funny that we have 3 or 4 undefeated teams from Spain. Barca, Real Madrid, Valencia, and Žalgiris are the only undefeated teams, except from Maccabi, who played 1 game. What did you like the most about Barcelona that you put very low in your power rankings? And you had your own arguments, but probably they surprised us all because they had tough games as well, playing Efes even at home and playing Olympiacos away and winning both games. That's impressive.
I mean, Efes is still not in the best shape. That's clear. Olympiacos were without the handful of players in this game, but you have to say that Barcelona are enjoying the freedom that they have. They still have the good old habits from Jasikevic's time, and now these players are just enjoying the game of basketball. La Provitola is taking early 3-pointers, running away from the basket, and then just turning and shooting. And when I saw that shot, I was like, yeah, you could not see this shot last season. It was simply not possible.
Even though La Provitola was the only guy who got some freedom. Okay, Nikola Mirotic as well. But La Provitola had a bit different rules in Shara's rule book.
But this was not, this wasn't a possibility.
It wouldn't go well if Sharas was on the sidelines.
So, it's the good habits, I think, mixed with freedom that Roger Grimau gives. He allows, just like Luka Banki, players to express himself. And the coaching staff has been mixing in nice wrinkles to their offensive style. They beat Olympiacos in the 4th quarter. It was a tie game going into the 4th, and it was the Spain pick and roll and the variations of it that made Barcelona win that game. So, for example, first time it works. First of all, I think their spacing is amazing, and Alex Abrines did an amazing job in this game, 5 of 7 3-pointers. But so first of all, it's a Spain pick and roll with the back screen. Simple, usual, like you see for 20 times in every game. He scores a 3-pointer. Then the next time they run a Spain pick and roll, but the back screener doesn't go up. Instead, he sets the screen for the big guy who pops, and Barcelona scored in this way. Then it's a timeout, and it's another option from the Spain pick and roll. La Provitola, instead of going to the rim, he goes to the corner to hand it off for Abrines, and it's another 3-pointer. And it's like that corner guy simply does not expect it. just like the big guy doesn't expect the pick and pop on Spain pick and roll. So I thought this mix of freedom, good habits, and Roger Grimau mixing in some new interesting stuff gave them this win against Olympiacos, against, let's say, a depleted Olympiacos team.
Yeah, but we shouldn't focus on, excuses, because Barca also have their own excuses, right? The new head coach, Nikola Mirotic is gone, Jabari Parker, Joel Parra, Brizuela, we mentioned all those challenges that these newcomers are facing. Carter Higgins is gone, so it's not like Barcelona is like Real Madrid, unbeatable team that it's really hard to do anything against. So they also had their reasons to have their own excuses, but they did well. And from all of this group, I really liked Jan Vesely a lot. And to me, he kind of reminded me of peak Vesely. I mean, especially in some stretches against Efes, he played a huge game, and even against Olympiacos. And in that last 4-minute run, when they were down by 7, he did some amazing small details, like stealing the ball from Mustafa Fall. Despite being behind his back, he made some great deflection, of course, thanks to his crazy lengthy arms. Then he blocked Brazdeikis. Then he made a great defensive stop against Walkup. And in other game against Efes, I mean, his mid-range game, offensive boards, perfect timing for putbacks, for dunks. I mean, to see how sharp he was, I was like, probably is the... Okay, we're talking about 2 games, right? But he really reminded those Fenerbahce years playing under Željko with this full confidence from the head coach, and also with the freedom that now he gets from Roger Grimau. And although I had concerns how it's going to work with to share this in the center position with Willy Hernan Gomez, but now it looks like some cheat code. You have Willy Hernan Gomez, who's going to put like 20 points in 15 minutes. And when you put Jan Vesely, who's so far been playing more minutes, you can close games with him, with his defense. And when he feels so confident in the offense, he's becoming a really a real threat. And I think that we kind of forgot how good he could be. And these 2 games, the start was kind of a nice reminder. And I just checked the player survey that we did for this season, but we haven't published it yet because we're still lacking of some players to complete it. And from all the answers we got, there was the question: if you could team up with any EuroLeague player not from your team, who would it be? And I was honestly surprised that there were a lot of mentions, a lot of different players. I don't know, maybe 15 or something, and there were only few who got multiple votes. And Jan Vesely, I think he was in the top 3. So I was a little bit surprised, but at the same time, I remember all these conversations that I had with his former teammates, or even the opponents, and his, on the court, his physical presence is something close to Eddie Tavares, like Shabazz Napier told in one of the interviews. You know how huge Tavares is, but when you enter the court and when you have to play against them, then you really realize how huge he is. The same goes with Jan Vesely. He's a monster. He's a dinosaur on the court who makes a big difference. And off the court, he's not a vocal leader, but he leads by the example. And the personality that he has is the reason why even the great players wants to team up with him, even if he's not on your team.
And this was the game, the perfect game where it's, let's say, Barcelona have 2 different centers, Willy and him. And this was the game where it is more suited for Jan to be the main option instead of Willy. Because, Willy can't really create much for himself down in the post, especially going against Mustafa Fall and Nikola Milutinov. That's a tough matchup. And with Olympiacos pick and roll defense, it's hard to use him, as a rolling big guy. And that's why he played 17 minutes. He had only 3 shots. One of them was a pick and pop 3-pointer. So Jan, I think, suited better for this game against Olympiacos. And so far, he's showing really great signs to start the season. 4 steals, 3 assists, 4 rebounds, doing all those little things. But I also like Barcelona's defense, their aggressiveness. I'm wondering if that's going to be their, let's say, trademark thing throughout the season. Is it going to be more of their offense, or is it going to be more of their defense? But I think
remember we were criticizing their defense at the start of the season because that was a real issue. But they have the personnel to be a good defensive team. Like last year, they were top 3 in the defensive rating per B-Balitics. So they have the right personnel to play a good defense.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, there are no excuses, but Olympiacos as well lost a lot of important players.
Yeah.
A lot of new players are coming in. They played with an injury depleted roster like that. This wasn't Olympiacos. This wasn't the best version of Olympiacos. So I'm not downplaying Barcelona's victory, but they're playing some good basketball to start the season.
Did you have any impression on Ignas Brazdeikis and his debut tonight?
I mean, I want to see more. I want to see more of him.
Yeah.
Obviously,
He's coming off the injury as well.
True, and
no preseason with
this
his
is a
new team.
new system.
Yeah.
This is completely different from what they played in Žalgiris. You know, this is much more ball movement where he gets the ball maybe, you know, in closeout situations. Not as much where he is the initial creator. I thought he did some great passes, you know, when he created the advantage, when he touched the paint. Sometimes I even was like, wow, he's in Žalgiris, he would have shot this, but now since he's Olympiacos, he's passing up good shot for a great shot. So, but yeah, I just want to see more of him, and then we can make some more comments.
Yeah, he had 5 points in 18 minutes. He was 2 from 3 from the field. I hope that Bartzokas and Olympiacos system will help him to grow and to be a better player, and to get him on the national team, getting some different tools, again, improved basketball IQ, the way he reads European game. That would help our national team as well. Valencia.
I haven't managed to see them yet. What were your impressions?
I watched 2 games
about them,
and just the ending of those games, both 4 quarters against Monaco and Fenerbahce. I mean, that's impressive. You remember that we had this conversation and we agreed that we wouldn't be surprised if they start the season 1-9.
Yeah,
because of the schedule 2-0. They had. Now they're 2-0. And okay, I just watched those 4 quarters, and I wouldn't say that, you know, neither of those wins were sexy, but in my eyes, they just out-muscled their opponents. They were very physical. They found right leaders in the decisive moments, attacking the ball, like Chris Jones making a dagger over Mike James, or Brandon Davis and Damian Ingles playing some nice inside the paint basketball to get the win against Fenerbahce. And of course, there was a lot of defense involved in both of those wins. But just watching them grinding for those wins, I thought that this is a different Valencia. This is more physical. This is more athletic Valencia. And you have Chris Jones as a point guard, you have Shemi Ojale, and you have Brandon Davis. It's already a different lineup that they had last year. I had some conversations about them, the way they have changed, and it was. I heard a good point. I mean, Bojan Dubljevic, he has his own weapons and strengths, but also he has some weaknesses. And as a big, he's not as typical, physical big that some other teams have. With Brandon Davis, you get an entirely different approach. Shemi Ojale is one of the strongest guys we have in the EuroLeague, and Chris Jones, as I said, he's a very strong guard. So I liked their physicality at the start of this season, and those wins, those tough wins. I think that in both games they were behind with 2 minutes remaining, but they managed, to win those games. And for these teams, for these mid-level teams, sometimes these narrow wins help to build a huge confidence, help to build the chemistry that they need to build with the new guys they have, new core players that they have. It also helps to build the confidence for the head coach, who was in a tough situation, let's say, starting the season. And it might translate into some good things for the entire year. So very good start for Valencia results-wise. But of course, those 2 narrow wins show that, the error of margin is very narrow. And you cannot get too much in love of yourself after even beating teams like Fenerbahce or Monaco.
Absolutely. I think, I can't comment on how they played, but you made a great point, for these teams that are new, that have changed a lot, and basically Valencia have changed their face during the off season. It is so important and so huge to win those couple of first games to build confidence in what they're doing, what they're trying to change and achieve. For the head coach, for the players coming in that maybe haven't played in the EuroLeague or haven't been too long in Valencia. So I think it's a huge, like we said, that they might start really bad and that might translate over the course of the season. These two wins could work the opposite way. So I'm really interested to see Valencia going forward because, as we said before, they don't have a easy schedule even after these two wins. So let's see how they do in the upcoming games.
By the way, at the end of the Fenerbahce and Valencia game there was very interesting highlight this situation. I think that Fenerbahce, they were down by 2 or 3, and Dimitris Tudis took the timeout and he was drawing the play. And Nick Calathes, he played 12 minutes in total of the first 2 games. Tudis draws the play. I don't remember for how long Calathes was not playing already, and for sure he was not going to be subbed in for that last offensive play. And Tudis play. He orders to play a small ball, puts Nigel Hayes as a 5. They need a 3-pointer, to tie the game. So Calathes comes from behind. He basically, gets on Tudis' shoulder to watch, from the top, what he's drawing. And I was like, wow. I mean, 19 or 20 players that played 12 minutes in the first 2 games, and especially knowing Nick's situation, which is very particular, they would be in the 3rd row of their bench, just to put your arm on the shoulder and say, "Oh, Fenerbahce, let's go," or something. And usually those players, they don't have any interest on what's happening because they put their egos in front and they're not happy with the situation they are in. And for me, watching Calathes doing this, I was like, okay, that's some classy stuff. And knowing that Nick is 34, he will turn 35 in February. I hope to see him translating into coaching at some point of his career in a few years, because I think that he would have a chance to be a really interesting coach. So maybe he's already, putting some things in his backpack, for his new chapter.
That's what I wanted to say. Maybe he's, trying to see the ideas,
Yeah.
How he do his things and what he wants to run in these last situations. But I mean, he's a professional. He's buying in from the first moment to the last moment. Doesn't matter the situation. So
and it's a good example for other players.
Absolutely.
If you're last guy who has all the reasons to be angry about the situation he's in, if he's showing that kind of commitment, I have to step up with my, ego in my mind. So that's nice. That's a classy move by Nick Calathes.
Fenerbahce also got hit by injuries this weekend.
Yeah. Even with injuries on other teams, but suffered by Fenerbahce players. It's not clear yet how long Artur Žagars will not be playing. It looks like a serious injury. The whole examination process took a little bit longer than expected because they want to get some different opinions to check about the best, way of the rehab or best things to shorten the process. But it doesn't look good. And of course, Tyler Dorsey is out for
2 months.
Around 2 months. It might be even longer, knowing the injury he had, and it was the fracture somewhere in his foot, probably. So Fenerbahce also might hit the market to find a short-term replacement for Tyler Dorsey. So basically in 2 months, they lost 3 guards in Raul Neto in the World Cup, now Dorsey, and then Artur Žagars, who could potentially join the team actually during this season, because there was this window included in his contract to get out of this loan agreement with BC Wolves. So who knows? Let's say Dorsey was out, Žagars was playing well, which he did against Lietkabelis, and who knows, maybe he got the chance to join the Fenerbahce. So I don't know, man.
He just have been so unlucky with these injuries, and it was just so sad seeing him going down again. Hopefully it's not as serious as it looked. And we're waiting for that probably official announcement coming out tomorrow. Maybe. Should not take that long.
Yeah, and speaking of waiting for announcements, TJ Parker is on a hot seat, and you never know which game will be last for him. They even lost the game in the French league now against Nanterre, I think. It was their 4th loss in the 5 games, including EuroLeague and French league.
They basically now they have lost more games than they have won this season. If you're counting both leagues, they have won 4 games, all in the French league. They're 4-3 in the French league and 0-2 in the EuroLeague. And they don't look like a EuroLeague team. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's true.
Does it start from coaching? Do you think that the coaching change will change things?
It's hard to say what can change things. You're not inside of the team. But what I see from outside is that there is no system. There is no, let's say, team mentality. On defense, if there is somebody makes a mistake, there is nobody who comes in and helps the player. Like, if, for example, in that Zvezda game in the first half, somebody gets beat on the 3-point line and Shabazz Napier goes in and makes the wide open layup. Where are 4 other guys that might help the
Sounds
situation?
Like you're talking about Efes actually.
It wasn't that bad on Efes, but
yeah, of course,
that game in Belgrade, ASVEL versus Crvena Zvezda was just they allowed everything for Crvena Zvezda. So that's what I said, that it was a smokescreen, for how good Zvezda is. It just showed how bad ASVEL were. They were helping from one pass away from shooters like Rokas Giedraitis. I'm not sure what kind of defensive. It's definitely not something TJ Parker instructs them to do, but since there is no system, players just seem to do more or less whatever they think of on the court, and they allowed 47 points or 50 points in the first half there. So no
70 frees, I think 17 frees, against Zvezda.
Yeah, so it was just hard to watch, and helping from Giedraitis one pass away, helping from Marko Simonovic in the paint, who is a shooter. So there is no system, there is no clear ideas, and I'm not sure if coaching higher will help, but at least it could be some kind of a shock to the team, and it might provide something new.
It's not like they have the worst roster, hopeless roster, right? On your backcourt, you have Nando De Colo, Frank Jackson, Paris Lee. It doesn't sound bad, on your wings, on your forwards. You have Timothée Luwawu-Cabarrot. Mike Scott, of course, he has a lot to prove. On centers, you have Laverne, Yusuf Afal. I mean, it's not the best.
Laverne is actually playing the power forward position.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
which is
it's also interesting. Yeah.
He's taking 3-pointers because everybody just stands in the paint and takes risks from him. And ASVEL also, I forgot this to mention, they're just taking so many early shots. If there's first pass and there's a little bit of space to shoot, they're going to take that shot. You can bait them into taking shots 16 seconds in the offense, even though you could definitely get a better look. So.
Yeah, I just think that with 1 or 2 roster adjustments, you could give yourself a little bit more hope. The problem with TJ Parker is that, from what I heard, I think I was in the World Cup, I heard that TJ Parker's future was kind of already uncertain already, even during the off season. There was even an idea suggested by one person who knows ASVEL quite well. He said that there was a possibility that TJ Parker might not start the season with ASVEL as the head coach. And I think there was a chance that, I think he mentioned that Vincent Collet could have replaced him for the start of the season. What would make sense, right? Collet did a good job with Metropolitans. And if you think about the coaching change, I'm not saying that the coaching change in August makes sense, but I'm saying about the replacement. Because in France, it's not like they have a lot of great local coaches could perform or take your team to the next level in the EuroLeague. So Vincent Collet, as the head coach of the French national team, as the coach who did a good job with Metropolitans, would make sense as a replacement. But then they failed badly in the World Cup, so maybe it kind of changed the whole trajectory of the ASVEL decision making, and they kept TJ Parker in this position. but I heard that they had some internal meetings already. Not sure what they discussed. It's obvious that the situation is a bit different because head coach is your brother, so you can, there. I think I'm just speculating, but there's a chance that TJ Parker knows that he will be replaced, but he's just staying as the head coach until the agreement comes with the new head coach. Let's say, not to make any noise, any move inside the head coaching staff. So maybe he's just patient with the change that is coming. But yeah, there was just always this uncertainty about his future in ASVEL even before the season started.
Okay.
And if we mention uncertainties, last week I had few conversations that a little bit, I wouldn't say surprised me, but made me more concerned about Maccabi. I didn't realize
What do you mean?
I didn't realize that the situation was so serious about their potential future in this year's EuroLeague season. Because we all know the horrible things that happened in Israel. We all know that they moved to Cyprus. And I just thought that, okay, they will find some neutral gym. They might play some home games in neutral gym and they will come back at some point of the season. But from like legit people, I heard some real concerns and some big question marks regarding their future, focused mainly on these few things. There are actually even some opinions that Maccabi should be suspended in the EuroLeague for the season for the reasons CSKA Moscow was suspended, because they're participating in the war, and there might come a lot of different red flags. We're not like weighing the Russia's and Israel's influence to that war or part of that importance in that war. What we're talking about, the team that might be, as some people mentioned, might be a target even traveling in away games. For instance, I don't know if you noticed, I just also noticed on Twitter, like there was Free Palestine big banner during Panathinaikos and Bayern Munich game. And I mean, let's be honest, Israel has a lot of enemies in a lot of different countries. And I heard from some EuroLeague teams a huge concern that, first of all, safety-wise, it puts a lot of pressure on the home team that hosts Maccabi. And at the same time, they're saying like, okay, if there are targets of some fans that might enter into my gym, it also puts a kind of a target to my team as well, because you never know what might happen. We are playing the same team and we are on the court. So it might cause a lot of, it already caused a lot of questions to those teams. How they're going to host Maccabi? How long they can play in the neutral gym? Because I heard that Maccabi is trying to calm everybody down and say that, hey, in 2-3 weeks, the situation should be improved, much more improved. And we should be fine to host Real Madrid, Bayern, and somebody else at the start of November. They're going to play 3 home games in a row at the start of November. At the same time, I heard concerns that my players they don't want to go to Israel. They don't want to go to Tel Aviv, even though it's quite far from the border with Gaza and from the battlefield. So there are a lot of concerns going from a lot of different ways, and I was just, the concern that I heard was really serious, and I don't want to speculate about their future, but this concern is here. So it will be very interesting to see how the situation will develop. First of all, with the war, and then the way EuroLeague accepts the situation in Israel and how they're gonna approach Maccabi's case.
So, but they're playing tomorrow. They're playing Wednesday against Valencia, right?
Yeah, in Valencia.
And then they're playing Friday against
Milan?
Panathinaikos.
Oh, okay. They're playing Panathinaikos this week.
In Athens.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, it's tough. It's tough.
I did not expect actually to hear such thing from what you just said. So, wow, tough situation to be in, and let's see how it evolves.
Yeah, just let's finish the podcast with some outside of Europe topics. And let's start with the EuroLeague MVP, Sasha Vezenkov. What do you think of Mike Brown, the Sacramento Kings head coach, being unsure if Sasha Vezenkov will be the part of Kings rotation this season?
I don't think it's anything weird. I mean, he's a newcomer in the NBA. He has to adjust. His defense, first of all, has to adjust, because we all saw how much praise his shooting and his offensive ability got from Kings players, Kings coaches. They were really amazed by that. But there are no doubts about his impact offensively. But on the other side of the court, how he's going to hold up against his opponents. And, if he's paired with Sabonis, he has to be at least average or above average to stay on the court in that lineup. So I'm not surprised. He is a newcomer. He is from Europe. It's the same. It goes both ways. Like we say for NBA guys who come in to play in Europe, there's going to be an adjustment period. It's the same thing for Vezenkov. So I wouldn't be surprised if he's not in the rotation to start, although I think he's going to be. But in my eyes, his role is going to grow over the course of the season, because it's normal, because it's different speed, it's different court, it's different game. I mean, it's going to be tough for him, especially on the defensive side. So for me, it's nothing weird. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I try to stay away from any conclusions when we speak about the preseason in the NBA. I hope that I don't really, it doesn't really bother me how long this transition process might take for him. I just hope that, it goes well in general for him, because we're talking about the EuroLeague MVP. And there's this thing with the NBA people, when they think about the potential transition of European, especially matured EuroLeague players to the NBA, they look for comparisons. They like to go for comparisons. Okay, if this guy is great off-ball player, let's check for his best possible comparison in the NBA. What could be his ceiling, or what could be the red flags of the same type of players who made it to the NBA, but couldn't deliver. So for the EuroLeague MVP, if let's say Sasha Vezenkov fails, for any other EuroLeague MVP, it might just add another red flag or labor among some NBA people, decision makers, and scouts, saying that okay, this title, this recognition, this kind of significance, and the way he dominated the EuroLeague was huge, was extraordinary. But then in those future conversations, it could mean basically anything. And I agree. I mean, it all goes, each individual is different. Each MVP is different, and he brings a different skill set. And you shouldn't, consider playing based on his, awards like the MVP. You should focus on his skill and potential and some other qualities like size and stuff like that. But as I said, NBA people, they like comparisons, and especially when it's still kind of, they don't trust Europeans that much. It would be just another bad reason not to invite EuroLeague player to the NBA, or not to give him an opportunity and a good contract in the future. So I just really hope that Sasha Vezenkov or Vasilij Micic, Dante Exum as well, they will find their roles and rhythm, because so far the preseason was not that easy for all of them.
I think Vezenkov has a better chances than Micic to be on court for a longer period of time. So I think, Sacramento's front court is not as stacked as OKC's backcourt. Yeah. And OKC's backcourt has so much young talent. And I could easily see Vasilij being shipped to a different team at the trade deadline.
Yeah.
And because his timeline basically, why he wasn't in the NBA before is because his timeline was way different from OKC's timeline, in how they're building their project and how they're building the team with the young stars, with Josh Giddey, SGA, and all those other guys that are here at the moment. So they're both going to have defensive concerns about them. So they're going simply have to prove that they belong to the NBA and that their offensive impact can be greater than their flaws on defense.
To continue this NBA versus Europe topic, what did you take from Real Madrid's win against the Dallas Maverick? This whole game.
It was such a well advertised game, I thought, and then all of a sudden we saw Luka Doncic play for 5 minutes, make some random 3-pointers because he has some pain in his calf, I think. And then he's out, and I was like, wow, good thing that I didn't go to this game, because I was actually thinking, maybe this is the time, to see Luka coming back, playing for Dallas. I would have been so mad if I bought the ticket to that game. And,
At least he has played, Can you imagine both him and Kyrie sitting out?
But, did he really?
No.
Did he really play? He didn't. He was just chucking up wild 3-pointers because, he doesn't want to get injured before the season. And, I saw a tweet. He wanted to play, but, the doctor said, no, you can't risk it. And I understand it's a preseason game.
And actually, I heard that these tickets were quite expensive, even by Madrid standards. So if I had those tickets, I would be really mad.
Going to see Grant Williams play. Or, some other guys from Dallas. But it wasn't really interesting because Real Madrid is already in season shape. Dallas is not. Kyrie wasn't playing. Luka barely played. And Real won, but they closed the game with their best lineup against Dallas lineup that will not play a minute in the NBA season or 2 when they're down by 25 or they're winning by 25. So I don't know. I would love to see a real competitive game that means something for both teams, that there is something to win, maybe a money prize, or I don't know, maybe that Intercontinental Cup that were, I don't know, way back in the past. So
now they have this Intercontinental Cup with the G League champions, the
G League Ignites.
Egypt champions playing as well. Not the best quality product you can get, but at the same time,
there's no EuroLeague, there's no NBA, so
yeah. Although somebody mentioned to me that there is this, long-term idea to potentially bring EuroLeague and NBA teams to that Intercontinental Cup. Although I still don't believe it would make any difference. NBA teams just start their preseason. And, the money prize you mentioned, if these contracts that they have in the NBA, I don't imagine what kind of money prize it should be to motivate them to play those games and to treat those games seriously. So I don't know. I really thought that this game was something of a new partnership that EuroLeague and NBA had, because the last time we had the NBA team playing against the EuroLeague team, it was just in 2016 or 17. And I was actually in that game. I remember...
Wasn't it OKC against Real Madrid?
OKC against Real Madrid. And
Russell Westbrook versus Luka Doncic.
Yeah, OKC played against Barcelona. I just don't remember which game was the first. But I remember I was in that OKC Madrid game where Domantas Sabonis was shooting threes as a stretch 4, where Russell Westbrook was coming at Luka Doncic. And I remember that Westbrook had a tough night and Luka was okay. Not very impressive, but was okay. And I think that Sergio Llull, as always, he stole the show. So that's my memory, and I thought that this is something new, some new partnership to kick in. But from what I understood, from what I heard, it was mostly about Luka just wanting to have a basketball game against his former team, Real Madrid, maybe to give something back to Real Madrid, to Madrid's community, which again speaks a lot about him, because you can hate his body language on the court. We told enough well-deserved criticism toward him during the World Cup. He's not the most favorite player among the NBA fan base, but the way he gives back to the community and to his fans is something else. Not just this game. As I said, again, it was one of the biggest reasons why this game happened, just Luka's motivation to play against Real Madrid. But the way he approaches all these guys who want to get a signature before the game, he really spends a lot of minutes, to please everybody who comes to the corner before the game, to get something from him. And, that's very nice. We remember the story in the World Cup, I think, where he gifted his jersey to somebody. I don't remember the details, but it was also a nice story. So yeah, that's Luka. he wants to give back to his fans and community, and that's nice.
He's a great guy for that. I mean, there was also, the 3-on-3 tournament he hosted. I mean, it was for his shoe opening, but it was in Slovenia. It was one of those beautiful places. That image, the court was on the lake. I'm pretty sure everyone who's listening to this podcast have seen that photo. It was an amazing, and this is also, Luka doing a publicity to Slovenia, to his home country. So I think that's great. I think this part of him goes a bit underrated. And for me, this was basically, yes, it's a nice partnership. I would love to see more, EuroLeague teams battling NBA teams, even though it's a preseason for them. But I think it was more of Luka, trying to do what's possible and asking Mark Cuban to organize this game to just give back to Madrid and for all they've helped him, in his career.
Yeah, because Dallas covered all their expenses, and I asked around some people how much it would cost to bring the NBA team to Europe for a friendly game, because I remember it was a thing, even Žalgiris, they had a real possibility to make it happen. They just didn't have enough money because you have to provide all the expenses for the players and the personnel that the NBA club has. And we're talking about a lot of people, like 50 to 100 people. And we're talking about, flights, business star, transatlantic flights, 5-star hotels, and some other stuff. Then their stay, that accommodate their stay, and it's really expensive. And I just before the start of the podcast, I tried to check for some old articles, because I really remember that this question was asked to some Lithuanian executives, and the current general secretary of Lithuanian Basketball Federation, 10 years ago, he said that 15 years ago, the costs of bringing NBA team to Europe were somewhere between $2 and $4 million. So we're talking about this amount in 2008. So we can expect that nowadays it's way higher. So yeah, not many European teams can afford that. We're talking about almost the entire budget for salaries, for player salaries. So it's kind of impossible. And
how crazy that sounds.
Does that game, Real Madrid and Dallas game, has any future in next summer and next off season? It's not clear. There are no strategic conversations between the NBA and the EuroLeague to host and to arrange another game like that. So we're not sure how long we're gonna wait for another NBA versus EuroLeague game, but I try to think about what would be the ideal format and the ideal world. I would like to see the EuroLeague champions playing in the NBA Cup tournament. If NBA Cup had a different format, let's say you have 8 teams in Vegas, fighting for the title, let's say in 1 week, in a knockout tournament. That would be nice if you put 7 NBA teams and 1 EuroLeague champions. Who would join those teams during the cup break as well? That would make sense for me, because all teams would be in kind of nice shape. And if the calendar, of course, is the issue. If you would find this gap, that would be nice. Because now
that sounds like an utopia, but it would actually be interesting to see. I mean, what the question, then my question would be, how do you count the wins against the European team? Does it go to your record in the NBA or not? Because not all the teams get to play them. So other teams might argue that you get a free win, let's say, for example. I'm not saying it would be a free win,
and
but
it would be fair if the first seeded NBA team would face the EuroLeague club, right? So
yes, but if it doesn't count, as a win, then that NBA team might not take the game seriously, and there's a lot of issues here. To organize something that would be a competitive game between EuroLeague and the NBA, even though a lot of people would love to see that.
Yeah,
that's it.
That's it for this episode. Just in the end, I wanted to give credit to our BN Plus members. We wanted to give credit to skstore.eu for the great gifts that we received. But the biggest gift is our fans, is BN Plus subscribers. And this week we will have the Q&A session for them. The entire episode will be exclusively available only for BN Plus members that you can become on basketnews.com/plus. And I just wanted to give a shout out to our GM and All-Star subscribers, starting from the GMs, Jason and GiveMeStats.com basketball stats, and All-Stars, Kristas Pukitis, Gabrielius Serva, Yonut Georgescu, Nicozinho, Hoofman, Rafael, Victory, Mark, Nick BG, T-Wold, T21, and Ivarus. So kudos to all Beyond Plus subscribers, actually, who get a lot of extra features, including our bonus Q&A sessions, Augis video breakdowns, WhatsApp chat with the greatest international basketball community that we probably have in Europe. Also, BasketNews.com interviews and articles that we put under paywall. So you all boost our project to do some great things. And we actually have some big plans for the upcoming weeks, starting from the Q&A episode that we're going to have with Rytis in presence. That's all. Let's go to take some lunch.
Yep.
And to enjoy these amazing SK Store gifts.
These jerseys.
Bye, guys.